As a tax strategist, I have the pleasure of sitting across from a lot of millionaires, a lot of broke people, a lot of aspiring entrepreneurs. And one of the things that I've been able to do is I've been able to adopt habits that allow for me to be able to grow my net worth and be able to turn around and guide other people around how they can build their wealth quicker. In today's video, I want to go over 5 habits that I adopted that allowed for me to go from broke to millionaire in a quick amount of time. For some of you guys that have been following me, you guys know that my journey started off after football when I graduated and no longer went on to the NFL, decided to take a career in personal fitness. And then that career in personal fitness took me over to tax strategy. As a tax strategist, I get to sit in front of a lot of taxpayers who have a wide variety of different tax returns. Some are celebrities, entrepreneurs, your everyday working individual. But one thing is common. The conversations that I have with wealthy entrepreneurs are different than the conversations that I have with the poor and middle class. And if you're trying to escape the rat race, some of these habits that I'm about to go over today might be habits that you want to adopt if you plan on becoming a millionaire. Without further ado, let's dive in. All right, guys, so the very first habit that I had to adopt in order to get out of the rat race was I had to stop copying broke and poor people behavior. Now, before you jump to a conclusion around what poor and broke people behavior is, I know that we can all agree that broke and poor people have different characteristics than those that are making millions. To be completely honest with you, majority of the entrepreneurs that I work with, majority of the high net worth individuals that I'm surrounded around, they wake up early. It just happens to be one of those characteristics that they've all seemed to adopt. So rather than trying to fight it, rather than trying to come up with this own conclusion in my head that I could find a way to become a millionaire by waking up at 8 a.m., I just gave up on that idea and I decided to start waking up at 4:30 a.m. My life has changed ever since I adopted this one trait. And the big reason why most entrepreneurs, the big reason why most wealthy individuals wake up early is just so that no one else is competing with their time. As soon as you hit 7 o'clock, when the average individual's alarm clock goes off, Instagram and every other notification now takes precedence over your attention, including other people, including family members, friends, and outside peers. But when you decide to wake up at 4:30 in the morning or somewhere around 5 a.m., there's not a lot of people that are awake. There's not a lot of emails that are going out. There's not a lot of business for you to attend to. This gives you this one particular hour or 2 hours in the day to truly work on yourself before you're working on someone else's vision when you go into work. This is one of the most important traits that you can adopt as you're trying to become a millionaire. It's creating more time in the 24 hours that you have in the day to work on yourself. But what ends up happening is we try to justify why it makes sense to wake up at normal operating hours, 7:30, 8 o'clock. This is poor behavior. And these are the things that were keeping me poor that I had to rid away with. Now, another poor behavior that many of us have adopted is wasting our weekends. And I can contest to this. I've had so many times when I ripped football games on weekends or wanted to take off to a trip to Vegas on a weekend, I completely was utilizing weekends as a way for me to catch up on sleep and my tiredness. And all it did was it made me more tired and it made me feel like my dreams and who I was meant to become was just getting further and further away. Here's the thing I want you to understand. Poor people waste their weekends like I used to waste my weekends. I used to play video games too. I used to rip all the college football games on a Saturday and just sit on my couch. I used to choose not to go work out on the weekends because I was resting my body. I don't have no more rest days. What I care about means so much to me that I would never give myself another rest day on a Saturday or a Sunday where I'm not going to the gym, where I'm not working on my business, and I'm not turning around and filming a video like this where I can change somebody's life. I had to get rid of the poor and mediocre behavior that was leaving me poor and mediocre. And one of the things that I had to adopt was no longer wasting my weekends. And if you're watching this right now and you're blowing your weekends, and maybe this video is something that you're watching on a weekend, I'm going to encourage you to start adopting new traits and including spending more time with the right type of people on the weekends who want to do things like work out, film videos, turn around and start business ideas, because these are the people that are going to help lift you out of the poor and broke state that you're currently in. You know what's funny? I used to be an HHH. An HHH is a happy hour hero. I used to come up with all these reasons why it made sense for me to go eat out, why it made sense for me to be at the happy hours with my friends. every single person I know has a friend group that likes to go out and eat out. And this friend group is not the friend group that at the table, you're sitting at the table, everyone's sitting there with 7 figures in the bank. That's not that friend group. This is the friend group where everyone's working a job, they all work hard, and they all believe in celebrating and having a couple of tequila shots and margaritas with the gang. I had to get away from the average employee friend group that I was hanging out with and go sit myself with other people who are choosing not to drink, choosing not to be happy hour heroes, but were choosing to work in the afternoons and sometimes on the weekends to be able to make a better life for their family. Guys, it was uncomfortable telling my friends like, hey, I'm not going out with you guys to Buffalo Wild Wings. I'm not going with you guys out to Malarkey's or any of these other bars tonight. I'm sorry. I'm going to stay inside, watch these additional educational videos, stay on my courses because I know that this is what wealthy people do. I had to make the sacrifice. And if you don't make the sacrifice, unfortunately, you might end up still having that broke or poor mentality. The habit number 1, and the habit that I want you to walk away with, is you have to stop copying poor and broke behavior. All right, guys, habit number 2 is you have to stop accepting shit and create your own ideal image of yourself. Now, excuse my language. I just want to make sure that you guys are understanding exactly how passionate I am about this topic. I used to be surrounded by a lot of people who always said, you can't do that here. You can't become this. That's not meant for you. I was around a lot of people that believed I was not meant to become an NFL athlete, that I was not meant to become an internet phenom teaching tax strategies, that I was not meant to have wealth, that I was not meant to have a big house, that I was not meant to have nice cars. I was surrounded by other people that told me those are only reserved for celebrities. Those are only reserved for top NFL athletes. Those are only reserved for the kids that went to Harvard, Yale, or USC. These were the people I was surrounded around. These are the people who I chose to hang out with. Could you believe that? But you know what happens when you start hanging around with people who act like that, who talk like that, who tell you that you're not capable of having something? You start developing this image in your head that you're not meant to have something. And you know what ends up happening? You start going through life thinking, you know what? That's actually never meant for me. I'm not actually meant to have those things. And you end up living a mediocre life instead of an extraordinary life. And I don't think God put us on this earth to live a mediocre life. Now, in order to break this mentality and this mindset, because you could be in similar circumstances that I was in an environment where you're surrounded by a bunch of non-believers, a bunch of people who don't believe that they're meant to go and accomplish anything in life. You know what you have to do? You have to start visualizing your future self. And this is not talked about enough by entrepreneurs. And I wish some of these bigger entrepreneurs, Tony, Dean, and Grant would say this, but I would tell you that these entrepreneurs that you guys look up to and maybe you look up to me, we visualize who we thought we were going to become. I visioned all of this. In my head, I knew that I wanted to wear suits one day. I knew I wanted to be in shape. I knew I wanted to have a cut, clean, shaven face. I knew I wanted to speak on camera. I knew I wanted to talk with proper language and speak articulate. This is all things I visualized. But here's the thing, I wasn't visualizing once a month. I was visualizing it once a day. And you know when I chose to visualize it? I chose to visualize it during the morning when I was working on myself at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, when no one else was competing for my time, when I wasn't worried about how I was going to fulfill on the orders for my boss when I got into work at 8 a.m., when I wasn't worried about all of the decisions that I made in the past that got me to where I was at that current moment. I wasn't thinking about the past. I was thinking about who I meant to become. And I stayed focused on visualizing what that person was going to look like, what that person was going to smell like, what that person was going to dress like. And the more and more I focused on it, the more it started to become, the more I stopped doing the habits that were preventing me from becoming that person. And you need a little push. And sometimes you're not going to get that little push from somebody that's in your neighborhood. Sometimes that little push is going to come from the man that's in the mirror or the woman that's in the mirror, AKA yourself. How do you get to that point? You start with visualizing the person that you want to step into, the person that you want to become. And this right here becomes your power in a world full of doubters who are trying to bring you down. Develop the visualization skill in order to visualize who you're meant to become so you can step in to who you're meant to become. The third trait that I had to adopt in order to go from broke to millionaire is realizing poison is still poison. I'm going to speak this out loud and I'm not going to cover it more than one time because every single person on here is competent and they understand what is right and what is wrong. We all know the poisons that we're allowing in our life, whether it's alcohol for you, marijuana, whatever it is that's your little crutch. You know that poison is still poison no matter how you try to justify it. You can read me 100 court cases that says that weed does not impact the lungs. You can read me 100 court cases that says having one shot of alcohol an afternoon actually helps you reduce your stress. At the end of the day, you know deep down in your heart that poison is still poison, and poison is another excuse that you give yourself from holding you back from who you're meant to become. And it's a shame that we all allow very little amounts of poison into our life, and we let that become the reason why we don't accomplish what we're meant to accomplish. We let it become the crutch, the excuse around why we're not doing the things that we should be doing. Oh, because it's a little habit I have to kick. Oh, this won't hurt me. Oh, it's not as bad as Tony or Roger from down the street. Poison is poison no matter how you look at it. Until you're able to develop the mental toughness to kick the poison that you're putting in your body on a daily or sometimes a weekly basis, you will be limited. You will be capped on your ability to excel and to reach your full potential. It's just how it works, right? God put your body together in a very specific way. And if you put poison into it, you are hurting your ability to achieve who you're meant to become. I'm not going to tell you what habits you should kick or what habits you should keep. But if you're choosing to put poison in your body on your road to becoming a millionaire, you're only slowing down your path. You're only putting up blockers when you're trying to get through with it. Number 4 trait, internet is the future. You need to figure out your online business model or become like Blockbuster and get passed up. Guys, all of us knew, especially millennials in my age, we knew what it was like to get to Friday night and your parents wanted to take you to Blockbuster. You used to rip and run up and down the aisles, choosing all your favorite movies, bringing them to the cashier, checking out with a couple of different popcorns and candies, going home and watching a Blockbuster movie. And then 3 years passed, and then next thing you know, Netflix is the new thing. You have your own login. You don't need to leave the house. You don't need to go to Blockbuster. And next thing you know, all the Blockbusters that you see in the community all of a sudden start shutting down. The reason why this happened is because Blockbuster refused to adapt. Blockbuster had a chance to partner with Netflix, and they chose not to. Could you believe that? Look who's out of business now. Here's the thing I want you to understand about where money is going. Money is going towards the internet. It's going towards AI. It's going towards television. It's going towards video. And if you're not on the internet, if you do not have an online presence with whatever business that you're trying to start, AKA I'm telling you to start a business, then you will miss this wave and you will be left behind. It will be so much harder for you to get to a place where you can have $1 million or $2 million sitting in the bank because you haven't figured out this game that other people are playing. The internet is a game. And if you choose to jump into this game, you have a better chances of finding success and building wealth quicker than trying to avoid this game like Blockbuster did. Adopt your internet strategy if you're looking to become a millionaire in today's day and age. The 5th, and probably one of the most important traits that I can leave you with, is adopting a side hustle is for poor people. Choosing a side hustle is for rich people. Now, what I mean by that is if you're thinking about starting a side hustle so you can make some extra money to try to become a millionaire, I'm going to encourage you to think about it differently. Millionaires don't become millionaires through side hustles. Millionaires become millionaires through successful businesses. If you go into a side hustle with the intention of only making side money, I promise you, you will only have side money. But if you go into starting a side hustle with the intentions of becoming a true entrepreneur, everything in the ecosystem and every energy will start pushing towards you becoming that entrepreneur that you want to become. Because the universe has a crazy way of working things in your favor when you decide to go all in on something. I'm not telling you to abandon your job. I'm not telling you to put in your 2 weeks. I'm telling you to make a decision when you decide to start the side hustle, because I do believe it's important to have a side hustle in 2023 and moving forward into the future. You cannot be dependent on your employer to increase your salary, to fight inflation for you, and to think about how he's going to be able or how she's going to be able to give you $1 million that's going to end up being in your bank account by the time you retire. Your employer is not thinking that far ahead for you. I promise you that. And if you're thinking about starting a side hustle to make some extra cash, I'm going to encourage you to think about that extra cash differently. Is it really worth for you to start a side hustle just to get some extra cash? Or is it worth for you to start a side hustle to develop a successful business so you can turn around, control your time, control your finances, and give you more of your time back? Most entrepreneurs that I work with who have found success did so by starting a side hustle. And they made sure that they knew when they went into that side hustle that this wasn't just going to be a hobby. This can become the full-time thing. And they had to approach it as such. Guys, many of you guys know that I started out in personal fitness. I knew that I wanted to become a fitness trainer. But when I stumbled across tax strategy, it wasn't a side hustle for me. I had to go all in on this, even though I was still doing personal fitness training. And that led me to YouTube. That led me to my accounting firm. It led me to finding entrepreneurs like you guys who I get to help. Going all in on something is the one thing that you can do to position yourself to get more of your time back and to make sure that you feel more fulfilled in what you're trying to do. I know that many entrepreneurs who have found success in today's day and age did so by making sure that they went all in on their side hustles. So the question is, are you going to go all in on your side hustle? And I've given you 5 traits that have helped me get to the place that I'm at. Being from Orange County, California, $6,000 in my bank account when I graduated college, had a tax bill of $14,000, which means I owed the IRS more than I had in my savings account, stumbled across tax strategy, had an amazing mother who taught me the way. And now, the internet and with some of the things that are going on, there's no slowing down. I know that some of the habits that I've been able to develop, like waking up early, surrounding myself with the right people, abandoning the poor mentality and the poor habits and the poor mindset, have allowed for me to be able to enjoy some of life's best features, spending time with my family, an absence of fear of money, being able to travel. And I believe that most of us are looking for the same things. Most of us are looking for the same things. We want money to be able to control time and relationships, who we spend our time with and how we spend our time with them. And if that's something that you're looking to adopt, then I'd encourage you to adopt some of these 5 traits. And I encourage you to stay focused and not give up on your dreams. My name is Karlton Dennis. Thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you like this video, do something for me. Comment, like, subscribe. You know what it is. I'll see you guys on the next one. Cheers.